I went to the Ted Lasso premiere the other night, and I got to see the first 2 episodes of season 3. And I don't know how many Ted Lasso fans are out there, but if you are, you're going to be thrilled because the first 2 are really going to set the stage for an incredible rest of the season. And so it was exciting to be there and to kind of rub shoulders with some of the cast and have a good time. I saw Sasha Kleshtin there, so it was good to see Sasha, and Greg Vanny, the LA Galaxy coach, was there. I asked if Steve Cherundolo was going to be there, but LAFC had to fly down to Costa Rica for their Champions League game, CONCACAF Champions League game. We'll get into the CONCACAF Champions League results here shortly, but pretty cool.
By the way, I thought Steve was on a level that he would have just jumped on the PJ from there and been able to, like, more of like I make my own schedule kind of level after a championship, like I can be everywhere at once when you got access to the PJ. Like
no, that's private jet. I feel you on that. He seemed a little bit disappointed he couldn't be there, but I think he knows in the back of his mind that he is a real celebrity now, and there are going to be multiple premieres in his future. So this was just one of many, right? I don't think it's that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was cool to actually learn a little bit more about the plan. The season 3 might not be the end. It's almost open-ended now, that there could be something else in the works, which is pretty exciting. And Tim Cook was there, the guy that runs Apple. So I could have got a selfie with him, and then I was like, I don't know. I know you guys think I'm that guy, but there are moments where I'm like, I don't know if I should be that guy at this particular moment. I'm a +1 here. I'm just trying to enjoy the experience and not try to make it about me. I know it's surprising that I'm saying that out loud, but I didn't want to make it about me, and so I didn't go get my selfie with Tim Cook. But it was cool. It was cool. And for everybody that doesn't know, Jason Sudeikis, who's Ted Lasso, the actor, his uncle is George Wendt, who is Norm on Cheers. And so I got to meet George Wendt, and I thought that was pretty cool because I watched a lot of Cheers growing up. So that was pretty neat. Yeah.
That's fair. Well, I feel like there's something about the fact that you didn't go up to Tim Cook with your old flip phone and try to take a selfie, a blurry selfie, not with the products that he'd prefer you to be using. But that's pretty cool, man. Like, it is weird, Jimmy. I think we're getting to a point in our age where, like, there's some nostalgia of people where, like, there's the people that are younger than you and you're like, I don't know any of these people. There's the people from the show. There's celebrities that are younger than you and you're like, I'm not really connected to that TikTok influencer necessarily. But hey, this guy from Cheers, I'll go and get his autograph or his picture, or I'm just happy to see him. But I'm actually curious from everybody that's in the comments right now as Jimmy pops off to do a little reset. Do you think there's going to be a spinoff show of Ted Lasso? Should there be? Who should the spinoff show be about? What should it feature? And maybe it is end of a season 3 and that's the end of the show, or maybe there's a spinoff, or maybe there's a season 4. But who would you love to see sort of spin off into their own show? And again, I know we've talked about this. One of the things that I liked most about Ted Lasso is that when they were doing some, and maybe it wasn't even character development at the time, but they would always do, Ted Lasso would show up to these Steve Nash's showdowns that are like these charity events. And the original character was very American football hostile, a little bit dumb, like very intense, like just used all the words that you'd use in football, but for soccer. And it just didn't land in the way I thought. It was actually kind of annoying by the end of the Jimmy, I'm talking about when they were developing Ted Lasso in the showdown eras. Where you'd have a live Ted Lasso. And I did not like it. I thought it was like a disrespect to the sport, like the way that they were doing it. This, like, American football coach, hardcore, intense, like very in your face, like just only knew how to use these words. But like the way that it's developed into being something that it is now is like nothing short of spectacular. One, just understanding like crowd work and how you develop a character and who people would like, and being this like very human person. But it was Jimmy, I mean, you've got some close relations to the show. Obviously you were a +1 there. You've hinted at there being maybe a beyond another season. So you must have somebody on the inside, and you might, what can you tell us?
Well, I'll give a shout out to Chip Hamilton, who is the coordinating producer. And actually when the show ends, he's the first name that you see on the credits. So shout out to Chip, who in his kindness is unbelievable, not just to me, but to anybody he interacts with. He's a superhuman being. And so I become good friends with him. It was great to see Brendan Hunt, who's Coach Beard. I'm friends with him as well. And through those two, I have been able to become, let's say, acquaintances with everybody else. Yeah, nice. I'm not going to go into the friend zone yet, but definitely friends with especially some of the actors that play some of the players on the team. We've got to get to know them in some ways. But yeah, I think that there's to your point, the show has become something that people can gravitate towards. There's characters there that are fully developed, that they, even though it might look like they're successful on the outside, they're obviously dealing with some internal struggles. And I really like those relationships. I like the relationships of the dad, father, son stuff that's coming through the show. And so that's, some of it hits home. It's not going to hit home for everybody, of course, but it's such a special show. And the first,
but it highlights the humans. He highlights the human struggle and and humanity, right? Of just just good character traits you want to see in people, bad character traits you don't, and the ones and it's unavoidable in our lives. It's just through the lens of this team and this club and the dynamics. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
it is very cool, and I think people will be pretty excited about season 3. And I also when I was here, got to meet a guy named Dan who helps on the soccer side, the football side. So they make it, it looks as good as it possibly can on camera. And he wanted my notes after the first 2 episodes because they play Chelsea in one of the episodes. And it does look better from season 1 to season 3. They have grown a lot in this particular department. So shout out to Dan and for getting all the players there who I think were getting some shit from their friends, and family. Like, you don't really look like a proper player, and so they started to take a little bit more pride in what they were doing and how they were doing it. But I thought it looked great, and I really look forward to seeing the rest of the season. I think people will be pretty excited. I'm not actually wearing an AFC Richmond jersey right now, so shout out to AFC Richmond and Ted Lasso and the whole crew. It's going to be awesome, and hopefully we'll have one of them, one of the actors. We'll try to get Coach Beard on moving forward to see give us some more insight on what's shaking for the future. But speaking of the future, somebody said in the chat that I have the Ted Lasso inside scoop, and you have the Gio Reyna inside scoop. Gio Reyna, Heath Pearce, came on 5 minutes into the Champions League game against Chelsea, so it was great to see him play. I thought he tired a little bit. He didn't have that 90-minute fitness, which makes sense. He hadn't played in 5 games or whatever, but drawing some fouls, making some stuff happen. I mean, that's what we expect from Gio Reyna.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you want him to just be busy and get into the mix of things. And he's trying to prove something, right? And he's going to try to prove something every time he gets a chance. And I don't think that means he's trying to prove something to us necessarily, but he's trying to prove something to his coaches that I want more. So he's going to be a little bit hungry. And sometimes you deplete energy, going after it. Whereas maybe you'd, pick and choose your moments, putting in that little bit of that extra effort if you don't have that match fitness might just come into play. But it's good to see him playing. Again, I think he's going to be a huge part of the future of the national team. We actually need him to, so hopefully.
I like the fact that he got in and, I'm obviously don't want anybody to get hurt. So Julian Brandt goes out, and Julian Brandt's been playing out of his mind over the last 6 weeks or since 2023 began. And you had to play him. He was playing so well on both sides of the ball and creating so many chances. It was going to be hard for Gio to break in. But since Julian got hurt, I like that Edin Terzic, the manager for Dortmund, didn't have any other options. I mean, of course he had a couple, and Adeyemi was out as well, so he didn't maybe have his normal choices that he would have liked, and I think Adeyemi would have made a difference in that Chelsea game for leg 2 after scoring the winner in leg 1. But I like that Gio just probably knew and could settle into the position a little bit, not thinking, hey, I only have 15 minutes to prove myself, or he had 85 there to kind of get into the game, find the flow, maybe even help establish the rhythm for them going forward. Unfortunately, for those that didn't see it, Borussia Dortmund ended up losing to Chelsea 2-0. I don't think Chelsea they'd only won 2 out of 14 games, I think, in all competitions this year, 2 out of 12 since 2023 began. So they were really hurting, and Graham Potter, the manager, is really under it. But they scored 2 goals, and when you look at the XG and you look at the stats and you look at all the flow, I mean, they did enough to win that game. Christian Pulisic, though, this is the big news, got back into the team. He came in as a sub towards the end, and there was a moment where him and Gio Reyna Gio was defending him when he was on the ball, which was pretty cool. And there's a nice photo of that online that you can find. But let's talk about Christian Pulisic. There's some question marks about whether you bring him in, given that he's just coming back. Do you want to add a long trip for him into his recovery mode, Heath Pearce? I mean, I think you bring him in for sure. You get him back into the group, and there's different vibes around the U.S. team as opposed to Chelsea, where it's so cutthroat and there's so many guys going for something. It might be nice to go back into familiar setting with some of your friends, frankly, and to kind of get those vibes going again in a positive way. What do you think about Christian?
I think, he's used to travel. And again, if you're him and you're going through the rough winter months that are generally what life is like this time of year in the UK, and you've spent a lot of time off the field, you probably want to change a pace. You probably want to change the scenery. You probably want a break. You want to go back into being with your friends and your peers, and you get maybe a chance to see family or other friends. And I always looked at it as that, right? No matter when it was good, it was great to go back to the national team. And when it was bad in your club environment, you got called in, it was, great to just get a break from there, because look, London is home for him. And it has been for quite some time now, but that, just having that change of scenery can be really, really good for just your mental health, right? Whether he plays or not, whether you decide to use him or not, is irrelevant. I don't think, a guy like him, who, if they're all, a bunch of them are flying through London, they'll put him on a private plane. It'll be a pretty efficient process, or flying first class. It's not going to be that big of a lift for him personally, and something that he's used to, that I think there's more upside than downside. If you're Chelsea, on the other hand, though, you're probably going like, how do we, I know we don't have a GM right now, but that's generally what our general manager would be doing, is having that conversation with them, to say, with the coach, to say, how do we manage this guy's minutes to make sure that when he comes in, you're protecting our asset, you're putting our players and our club's needs at the forefront. And then there's probably a little bit of healthy tension there. If it was a bigger game, you'd go, well, we're using him because he's a national team player and it's a national team window. But this is probably one where you can build that relationship and be a little more strategic in it, and make sure that the club knows that, like, hey, he's going to come in, he's going to be part of the team. We're going to keep his load light. What are some things that you would like to see? Does he need more intense trainings? Do you want him out? Like, give us your periodization plan, and we'll match that up with how we think that we can use him, but we're going to bring him in, type of thing.